personal desire to turn each sin against the sinner.
Her pretty head. You won't miss a thing.
Oh, what's in the box?
I love Seven. I saw it in the theater on opening weekend back in 1995, and the ending was just so crazy. They don't make him like that anymore, folks, that's for sure. It's why David Fincher is who he is. But what I want to discuss here is Seven's overall message on life and death. Let's see why Fincher's twisted, nihilistic classic about the 7 deadly sins is just a story about everyday life. While Somerset, Mills, and Tracy have arcs, John Doe doesn't really have one. He's just there as a ferryman of sorts, only present to escort Mills and Somerset from point A to point B concerning their belief systems. Doe drives the plot, while Somerset and Mills react to it. Doe is a member of the press, a freelance journalist. When Mills and Somerset enter Doe's apartment, we see that one of his rooms have been turned into a dark room for photography. While they discover many things there, it's the neon red cross above Doe's bed that is really the most important element to understand why he does his crimes. He sees himself as a vessel of retribution to those who have fallen away from God's favor.
We see a deadly sin on every street corner, in every home, and we tolerate it.
Each victim is already dead, metaphorically speaking that is, before Doe enters their lives. They never repented their sins, meaning they were too ignorant to realize their wrongdoings, or perhaps they knew of their wrongdoings, but continued to sin anyways. Doe appoints himself as someone, like the Grim Reaper, let's say, who comes to collect souls when their time is up. Although Somerset calls him out for his possible contradiction in finding pleasure when killing his victims, Doe states that he's simply a messenger doing God's will.
If you were chosen, that is, by a higher power, it seems strange to me that you would get such enjoyment out of it.
Nothing wrong with a man taking pleasure in his work. It's not something I would expect you to accept. But I did not choose. I was chosen.
He's a religious zealot who corrupts and weaponizes religion to hurt others. Doe is portrayed as Christ-like when he turns himself in, and during his final moments too. Fincher uses the sun behind Doe's head to produce a halo effect that gives him a supernatural aura. And I think it's a clever addition too that Doe includes himself in the sins. As psychopathic as he is to others, he's not above holding himself responsible for sin. He recognizes that his own life isn't normal. Murdering and torturing others is not an act Doe enjoys. And it's proven when he confesses his envy to Mills.
Because I envy your normal life.
Put the gun down, David.
It seems that envy is my sin.
Oh, what's in the box?
Doe's death, similar to Christ, is dying in a way for the sins of the world. The only vague sense of happiness and accomplishment Doe gets is from believing that his murder spree will be discussed long after his death.
And what I've done is going to be puzzled over and studied and followed forever.
It's what his murders represent that will change how society interacts. This is ultimately made true by testing Mills. If Doe had chosen someone else for his envy and wrath scenario, Doe's plan wouldn't make such an impression, but to include the detective on the case and force him to make a choice that highlights Doe's murders will crystallize Doe's message forever.
Where are you headed? Far away from here.
Just as Somerset has had enough, Doe is just as sick with society too. But rather than simply leaving the city like Somerset plans to, Doe's response is to hold people physically accountable for their sins. Detective Mills is ambitious, but he's in over his head by transferring to the city. He's the hotshot new detective in town, and he's there to make a difference. But patience and research are not common attributes of his.
Fucking Dante. Goddamn poetry writing faggot piece of shit.
1 pound of flesh, no more, no less. No cartilage, no bone, but only flesh. Merchant of Venice. Didn't see it.
Thank you, Lord. Get the fuck out of here.
I got a right to be here.
Get out of here.
Get
out of
here! Hey!
I'm sick of all this waiting.
This is the job.
Somerset warns Mills of his naive attitude. For the sake of the message in Seven, the Mills character must fall to prove a point. Mills realizes, by the end, that his hope was naive. It's Mills' fall from grace that allows Somerset's character to change. When I meet people who don't like Seven, it's because they're overwhelmed with the hopelessness of the story. Tracy's head in the box, Mills going to prison for falling for Doe's plot. Doe basically wins, like Somerset says to Mills just before he shoots Doe.
If you kill him, he will win.
On the surface, that is understandably the message of the story, but it's only the message if you look at the story from the perspective of the Mills character. Sure, we get a good insight into his background and his lenient views on morality.
We are talking about people who are mentally ill. We are talking about people fucking crazies.
But Mills only feels this way because his views haven't been put to the test. His personal life hasn't been confronted with the horrors he sees as a detective. His work stays work. That is, until John Doe brings those horrors to Mills' private life. It's during this pivotal moment that Mills must make a choice. Will he kill Doe? Is he as strong in his beliefs like he claims? Or will he become wrath and prove he's truly naive? When Mills pulls the trigger, he becomes just as hopeless as Doe knows he is. Doe is proven right. As much as Mills tried to argue against it, he falls a victim to it. Mills' character arc is a tragic one indeed. His story is a warning to beware of the dangers of the world. While Mills is certainly the character the audience roots for because he has the most to lose, it's Somerset who is the true main character of the story. We open and close the movie with him. Somerset knows all too well the horrors that await everyone who stays in the city. Somerset is the veteran detective who's seen it all and has since lost hope in humanity. But the more we get to know Somerset, we find that his reason for his despair comes from his personal life, not his job as a detective. The lunch with Tracy explains Somerset's situation. Tracy is pregnant, but she hasn't told Mills yet. She meets with Somerset to get his opinion on her situation. As bad as things are for Tracy, she still wants to have a child. She hasn't lost all hope yet, like Somerset. That's what the choice to keep the baby symbolizes. Hope. Somerset opens up to Tracy here, telling her his reasons for making his partner get an abortion. There's too much negativity, too much danger in the world. He figured he'd be doing the unborn child and himself a favor by not bringing a new life into the world, and therein lies Somerset's inner turmoil.
I'm positive that I made the right decision. But there's not a day that passes that I don't wish that I had made a different choice.
I can't help but feel bad for him when he says that. Now we know why Somerset is the way he is. It's not just the city. It's the choice he made to have an abortion. He didn't appreciate life, and instead he was involved in the murdering of life. And that's what the entire film was about. Not appreciating life, or, as Somerset puts it, everyday life. And there isn't a clearer example of someone not appreciating life than abortion. Somerset's goal, we understand, after Mills murders Doe, is to help others appreciate life.
Ernest Hemingway once wrote, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for." I agree with the second part.
Somerset lives in a personal hell, and it's because he chose to have an abortion. The only way out is to help the naive Mills see things his way before he makes similar choices that will doom him too. But it doesn't work.
We're talking about everyday life here. You can't afford to be this naive.
I don't agree with you. I do not.
Mills falls victim to the same despair that Somerset did. While Mills has a tragic arc, Somerset has a slightly better one. After seeing Mills give in to Doe's plan, Somerset knows he is needed more than ever as a police officer. He has a new perspective on life. He has hope.
I'll be around.
Tracy has the abortion. We just need to state that right now. Tracy is very much like the Somerset character too. She's not optimistic like her husband. Mills left his life in the countryside to move to the big city, the exact opposite of what Somerset plans to do. Mills is hopeful that he can make a positive impact, but Tracy doesn't see it that way. Her first lines of dialogue are of sarcasm about living in the city.
I thought we moved here to get away from tractor pulls.
Although she's married, she's all alone, emotionally speaking that is. Although she claims that she wants to have the baby, the conditions of the city are unbearable to raise a family. She knows it's a dangerous environment, and this symbolically leads to her having the abortion. Outright revealing that Tracy has the abortion is too horrific, too much of a direct answer to the eventual twist that brings Mills down, but the subtext certainly points to Tracy having her abortion. Let's see why. Well, does she tell her husband that she's pregnant? No, she never reveals it to him. She instead tells Mills' coworker. Why? Why not tell your spouse that you're pregnant? It's because she has doubts about keeping the baby in the first place. She needs a second opinion about her pregnancy from a guy she barely knows, and then when she does get his advice, he tells her a story about getting an abortion, and even how to cover her tracks. I mean, if that doesn't point her in the direction of having an abortion, then I don't know what would.
I mean, if that's your decision, don't ever tell them that you were pregnant.
His abortion situation only reinforced her choice not to have her baby. The plans to seek out the abortion are clear. She hated the city, hated her life there basically, and didn't want to bring a kid into that environment, just like Somerset's excuse. Tracy's decapitated head in the box makes sense on the surface, but its contents are symbolic of the dead baby. It's Somerset who opens the box, not Mills. Somerset's only connection with Tracy is about her unborn baby. So for him to open the box and find her head isn't personal enough to Somerset and his backstory, but her aborted baby matches his regret. Tracy's abortion represents the hopeless tragedy of the entire story. Other than Somerset sticking around and likely delaying his retirement that highlights a sliver of hope, Seven shows that even an unborn baby doesn't stand a chance. Life is not appreciated. The dreadful city, the preaching of John Doe, the regret of Somerset, Mill's wrath, and the despair of Tracy each contribute to the overall nihilistic perspective of human beings in their everyday lives.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.